After a long night shift and all day interviewing, this is what I find on my way home, a few kilometers from my house. I was not that happy, but at least I had the Tuscan with me.
This is a real situation, and I have almost once or twice every year. So that's why I carry tools. I have the Tuscan. What the best situation is, if not a real life one. So this is the Tuscan. Here I'm stuck just 2 kilometers before my house, and I need to go through, otherwise I don't get back home. So this is the new blade by EXTREMA RATIO. It is a cool blade with a different grinding. Here is a little bit thinner and here thicker. That's meant to have a little bit forward towards the tip of the blade weight, so it should be easier to use it as a chopper or a machete. So let's say probably is more useful for small kind of trees and things like this than chopping a tree like this one, which is quite big. The blade is super cool. There is even a sort of canto blade shape with the edge even here that is sharp. A sort of tactical feeling with this false edge. The blade is very thick. The handle is the usual contour. This is G10, which is a little bit of a difference. They have made it lighter here, jimping here, the big fat jimping that is useful for if you have gloves. I don't have them at the moment. I think it is at the moment it is okay, but a little bit slippery. Although I have to try a little bit more. Let's see.
Here I have to be honest, I was not that happy the way it bites into the wood, and the knife was moving a little bit in my hand.
So it's not really slippery, but it tends to move a little bit. Let's see though, this is not a chopping tool. Let's see with my other EDC. Okay, this is my real EDC. Let's see if it works. As you can see, even this tool is not perfect for this job. It finds it difficult to cut through this very hard and thick tree. So I have to find another solution.
Ciao ragazzi. Yesterday I was coming back home from a very long day after the night shift, so I'm very tired. I was very tired. And what did I find on my way? Just a few kilometers out from my house, a fallen tree. And that is not unusual here. That's why my EDC is a roncola. And I tried to use the roncola and the Tuscan to open the way to get back home, and I couldn't do it. I was a little bit upset, especially with the performance of the Tuscan, but even of my roncola, to be honest. So I was a little bit not so happy about the new Tuscan by EXTREMA RATIO. Today I would like to do more of a traditional review, because it might be more standardized, because I know the feeling that I have with the wood I'm using usually, because it's the wood that is hard and seasoned for my fireplace. So I know how difficult it is to cut it through, and I can do other tests, and I am probably even fresher, and my mind maybe it works a little bit better. So let's see if this one is a good knife or not, or at least for what is intended. This review is supported is in collaboration with Coltelleria Scintilla. Coltelleria Scintilla is a shop where they sell knives, but they are even great in helping you with resharpening knives, and even they are involved even with some designs with Lionsteel and other knives. This review is in collaboration with them, but all the opinion is mine. So if I come out with a negative opinion about this knife, it's just my opinion and not theirs. Let's start with the knife. The knife is the new Tuscan. It is a multi-purpose knife. At least that's how they describe it. It has a very interesting, I think, idea in terms of design. It comes with the very narrow grind here, or at least narrower than in the tip, and this allows the weight to be shift towards the point of the blade, giving him more possibility to be used as a axe, or let's say as a machete more than an axe. It comes with an edge both here, sharpened edge both here and here, sort of a kind of tanto feeling of this kind of shape of the blade. The handle is the usual beautiful design of Extrema Ratio. In this case, though, is G10. It's full tongue, and the contour has been worked, I think, very well for a grip. Although yesterday with the wet hand I had some difficulties, and we will see today if it's still the case. There is here a hole, I guess, to reduce all, even for beauty, because let's remember these are beautiful knives, but even to reduce the weight of the handle. So all in all, I really like it. The grind here is thinner, so for smaller tasks, and thicker here, so you have probably better edge retention in terms of chipping, and overall probably very good for chopping, and for sure even batoning. Look how thick it is, the blade. The jimping here is something that I don't like that much. It's too big, and it's painful if you don't use gloves. But many Extrema Ratio fans, they would say that you don't use this knife without gloves. We will see even something else. I will check cutting abilities and so on. But even the guard, look, the guard is very thin. It's not that accentuated. So, but it is square here, which might be good for the smaller tasks. Although, if you work this way, there is always the risk of going forward. And in my opinion, this is not the best design for a tactical knife. If this is supposed to be a multi-purpose and even tactical knife, I would prefer a better guard. Some in the tactical world say that if you need a guard, it's because you don't know how to handle the knife. If I can, I would disagree with them, especially because if you encounter something more difficult to penetrate, there is no way, I mean, that your hand will not slip in some way. After all that talking, let's have a look how the knife performs with real action. It's touching here and here. So if you have something small of this way, it's not that good. Here you can see it's not very effective. The tanto shape is not perfect for food and working on smaller objects, but it's still quite okay to work on the rope. Not so good the tip part, the forward part. Here I go through different tasks. Cutting through paper is very good. Chopping small tree is very good. Even this small task with the finer grind is fantastic. The batoning is probably the best part of this knife. And here instead you can see I have to readjust all the time the blade in my hand, and it's not really good for the chopping. It goes through the wood very well. I have to say that the feeling of this kind of grind that is thinner here is much different than a bigger grind of a normal knife or any other knife. And I think it's a good solution for these kind of tasks and working on wood for finer details I think that this is a winner. Perfect. This is the fun part. Look at it. It goes through it like nothing. And instead, with the this part, you can see my hand is moving. Dimensions, a quick recap, and the final considerations. So the blade is 6.8 inches. The overall dimension 30 centimeters or almost 12 inches. Width 3.8 centimeters or 1.5 inches. Recap. So handle G10, very contoured, but it is a good feeling in terms of connection, general feeling of the handle, but it's not that good, I think, for chopping. I'm sorry to say that, but I thought it was connected to the fact that yesterday my hands were wet, but even today with the gloves and without gloves, in both cases, tends to move a little bit too much in my hand. But remember, this consideration is always connected to the my hand. I have a small hand. In terms of general feeling when you're chopping, it is not really a machete, in my opinion. The work that they've done on the blade, I think it is not enough to give that feeling of a chopper. I mean, of a, let's say, of a machete or a kukri, where you have a lot of weight towards the tip of the blade, and you really almost have that the blade does the work for you. You have that kind of feeling that it goes into the wood by itself, and so the feeling of that kind is not present in this blade. Steel is a 690, which is the usual steel that is used by Extrema Ratio, well hardened, well tested, and I mean, unless you don't like 690, this is the best 690 you can find in the business. So some might argue that with this price tag of 400 euro, you might expect probably a better steel, but it does the job. And for those who like to resharpen it in the field, probably it is much better than other harder steels. So in terms of capabilities with the batoning, it is fantastic. It is probably the best blade that I tested in terms of batoning. Goes through the wood like nothing, and even thanks to the thick spine of the blade. The feeling of the smaller grind here when you go through the wood is fantastic. In general, I think that it is very well designed from that point of view. As I was saying, the guard, as tested, the guard is a little bit too small if you don't use the lanyard when you are punching through something. It is, you feel like the hand is moving a little bit. So in real life situations where you can find really something very hard and you go for it, it might go through it. I would prefer with the guard, especially if you have to be in a situation where you can't always prepare yourself with the lanyard, so that can stop your hand moving forward. The cutting through the bottles and even the cardboard, it was fantastic. I have to say that it was a beautiful feeling, even fulfilling. I mean, it is always fun to do that test. I don't know how much it is a test of a blade, but it's always fun to do it, and it was very effective in to that. Going into the final opinion of this blade, it is very hard for me to give a final verdict on this blade. The reason why is because I had really ups and downs all over the test. Since even before I buying this blade, I mean, I love Extrema Ratio. I love it because it is beautiful. They are beautiful blade. And then I was very curious with this different grinding, different grinding, and I was expecting a lot from this blade, even because it comes not cheap. All Extrema Ratio are very expensive, so you almost set yourself for high standards. And then through the testing or ownership of the blade, it has been ups and downs. I've been a little bit down when I was a little bit stressed because of coming back home and not being able to cut through the tree. But I mean, it was a big tree, so I could expect that. And then during the test here, sometimes I was very happy. Like initial chopping, the feeling was good on a smaller wood. Then when I went into the bigger wood and had more resistance, I could feel a little bit too much of the blade moving into my hand, both in this direction and this direction. So I didn't like it that much from that point of view. In terms of even the feeling, it is not perfect. So again, another down, and then another up when I was cutting through the bottles or even doing the batoning. So it depends a lot on what you want to do with this blade. Is it a tactical? Maybe I don't know. I think that the best blade shape for tactical is not the tanto. It is a stiletto. It is a dagger shape is much better. If you instead you say, okay, it's tactical slash survival, okay, then in that case, this kind of shape might be the best shape because it allows you to be a little bit more flexible with the task that you can uh, um, uh, use the knife for. Like even digging. I know people don't think about that, but in some cases you need to dig, or even, of course, go through stuff, or preparing your shelter and so on. If you want to use it instead for food prep, for cutting through stuff, I don't think it is the best shape. But this is not due to any fault of the knife. It is the shape itself that is not perfect because it doesn't have any belly. So I really, may I say that I don't know. This, I think it is one of those knives I still need a little bit of more time with it in order to come out with a final verdict. For the time being, I am towards more of a no for this blade, but more due to the price. I mean, if we take everything into consideration, price, functionality, beauty, overall design, and capabilities of the blade, of the steel, I think that I am towards the no. Um but I would like to give a final answer maybe in a couple of weeks, trying this blade a little bit more. I think I can be a little bit more objective, and maybe I can even ask you to give me an opinion on a general, even if you don't have this blade, general opinion of this kind of shape and overall function of a knife of this kind. And I will ask even some experts, and maybe I can give you a more detailed and better balanced opinion on this blade. I would like to thank you again, Coltelleria Scintilla, great guys and very knowledgeable. I think that if you have the chance to go to Treviso, where they are based, or if you are visiting Venice, go and have a look at what they have. They have great knives and they are very expert on this subject. I suggest you to go and have a look at that, at them, even because Treviso is a beautiful little town. So, having said that, ciao to all of you. Have a nice day. Ciao.